Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Dan, Warpaint JKU. It is finally time for me to change out the fenders that are here on Warpaint. So stick around, check out this video if you want to find out what I think are the absolute best fenders to put on your vehicle, especially if you go off-roading. People change the fenders on their rig for lots of reasons. A lot of people just like the look, but I changed my fenders out on this rig because it actually gave me a lot more clearance for a larger tire, right? And I still wound up having to do some trimming back here in order to get them to fit while I fully compressed and stuffed my suspension. But there's a lot of different options when it comes to aftermarket fenders. And I liked these originally, and still do, because they're super thin steel. So when I rub up against something on the trails, like a large rock, a tree, maybe I put a tire into it, something like that, the fender actually is willing to move and bend a little. Now, there are a number of awesome manufacturers that make awesome parts for Jeeps, and there are a number of people that you'll see posted on Instagram and all other types of places that are like, wow, look how strong these tubular fenders are. And they spend a lot of money. I'm talking a lot of money on fenders. They bolt them up to the sheet metal on their Jeep because they're strong. And I think, guys, that's a big mistake.
Big mistake.
Especially for people that off-road, because if you were ever to rub this fender or something when it was one of those crazy tube fenders that I'm talking about up against a tree or up against your tire, the fender's not going to give, and the fender is only as strong as the steel that it is bolted to. This steel, guys, is super, super thin.
I'm thin! I'm thin!
Okay, super thin. So you wind up getting body damage pretty easily when you have those super thick fenders. So in comes MCE Fenders. MCE Fenders are made 100% in the United States. They're manufactured here. A lot of companies say they are, but all they do is box them here or put the final step on their product here. These are actually 100% made here, which is really, really cool. I'm all about supporting the American companies when I have the opportunity. They make an awesome fender that's got a lifetime warranty, okay, for the original purchaser. It is a lifetime warranty against cracking these fenders because they even market them as being virtually indestructible. And here it is. It's kind of got the finish on it of like a factory Jeep fender. They're made out of a mix of like a plasticky kind of material. If I was to rub this up against a tree, right, it's just gonna bend. I'm not gonna get body damage on my Jeep. So excuse the dirty garage, but I'm gonna try to dig through here and find my tools and remove my fenders. I'm not gonna show you guys how to do that because depending upon the fenders that you have on your vehicle, the process may be a little different. It's extremely easy no matter what fender you have, and there's certainly YouTube videos out there to show you how to do it for your particular fender, whether they're stock or aftermarket. Mine just simply unbolt from the body, then I'll get to showing you how to install the new ones. Here, Cat, what are you doing? If you guys remember the old Jeep Cat from another one of my unedited off-camber videos, this little guy here, she showed up one day, never left, wound up having babies under my deck, and now I got a family of cats living in my backyard. Pretty cool though. Shop cat. Comes in the backyard, hops up frequently on top of the toolbox, hangs out up there, watches me work, isn't even afraid of the grinder noise. Kind of cool, but there she is. So what you're going to want to do is basically take the 1-inch long bolts that actually came in the kit with your fenders and install them loosely in the front 3 bolt holes that would hold the fender onto the vehicle. Doesn't take that long, but it's a little tedious to kind of get those 3 bolts up in those locations. Once that's done, it kind of gives you an idea on what this is going to look like, but you have to come back here and kind of hold it up in place so that it follows the stamped steel section of the fender. And then you can mark all those little holes. Now, a clamp similar to this, right? This is like a big C-clamp vice grip style, can help you hold the fender up where you want it. I actually am doing this a little bit differently than the directions called for it. Now, what I do is I kind of push this up. I use a small drill bit in the end of my drill, just something a little bit smaller than the self-tapping screws that they send with the kit. And I drill a tiny pilot hole in the fender. I then put a little RTV on the end of the bolt. I send the bolt through with a drill very carefully so that I don't strip it out. It's very easy to do with self-tappers. And then I go back with a socket on the end of a tiny ratchet to tighten them all up and snug them up. And I do one at a time. And I start with the one closest to these 3 bolts. It's about right here under the fender. I'm gonna put that in position, drill it, put the bolt in, move to the next one, making sure that the fender is lined up where I want it the entire time. There we have it, okay? All the self-tappers are snugged up. These button head bolts that we put in earlier are now tightened down. And I kind of like how they don't dive down in the front over here. Now, there is a mod that you can do to the front called the Scully mod, and I'm gonna be doing that and showing you guys more about it, but time to basically get to the rear. Now, the rear fender is super easy to install, but you're definitely gonna need a couple of those clamps that I showed you earlier. Let's get to it. Because this aftermarket fender is basically plastic, while it's packaged, depending upon how it was in the box, how it was in the factory, and the condition of your sheet metal on the back of your Jeep, it may not lay perfectly flat, right? Like the bottom edge could be twisted or something like that when you take it out of the box. So the way you're going to install this one is you actually basically have to pay attention to this recessed steel area in the side of your fender. And you're going to work with the back corner spot for that self-tapper and the front corner spot for that self-tapper. Once you have it clamped in the fender line across the top, set up exactly where you want it, you're going to take your Sharpie and just mark those couple top holes. Now, once you have those top holes marked, you're going to want to take the front edge of the fender, kind of move it into position where you want it, and then mark the holes on the front side of the fender. You're going to want to do the same thing on the back. Drill out those pilot holes. And once you guys are done with that, you can basically take those self-tappers, right? Put that little bit of RTV on them. Again, it seals it, prevents all the rust, you know, things like that. Send those home, and you got your rear fender on. Now, if there's a little bit of body panel showing, right, because these obviously aren't factory, you can just get in there and paint that, you know, paint that black. It'll all disappear, and you got your fender on the rear. That's all there is to it. Now guys, that's about it, right? Pretty easy install video on how to put these fenders on the rig. Nothing but basic hand tools. You guys have all that stuff, I'm sure, at your house. And if you don't, the tools we used in this video are actually relatively inexpensive at a local home improvement store, especially those drill bits. They're so thin, they're so small diameter that they're really not expensive. Guys, get on over and check out MCE Fenders. I'll put a link in the description to their website. They're awesome. They're virtually indestructible. Check out the rest of the videos on this channel because we do everything from re-gearing to crazy suspensions to wheeling to everything else. Anyway, guys, get out there, build something.